Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sprechen Disc Golf, the most reliable Pro Tour focused podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Coleman, and if you haven't already, go follow us on Instagram and Twitter, as well as check out our main platform, sprechensports.com. More on that later in the episode. Today, we're going to be reviewing the Memorial and some other storylines in the Pro Tour, and then previewing the Waco Annual Charity Open. So let us jump right in. We are going to start with Memorial. So Memorial was last weekend. Memorial, if you don't know, is probably one of the biggest A tiers in the world, or at least most prestigious. It used to be a Pro Tour event. It has fallen down to just a standard A tier, facing some criticism that it is a Heiser fest. It's kind of open. They can't quite get control of the park, and so some other issues with it being a Pro Tour. But overall, very nice event, very very historical, and it took place this weekend. So Gannon Buhr took it down on the MPO side, and Owen Scoggins took it down on the FPO side. With Gannon, it was kind of a tale of two tournaments here. So Owen and Gannon had very different paths to victory. Gannon had a similar line that Calvin Heimberg took in winning Las Vegas last week, and Owen had a similar line to Katrina Allen. So Gannon was at one point down by 10 strokes at a course that was otherwise kind of recognized as it's hard to come back on this course. There are so many birdies, it's really hard to find places to make up strokes, and Gannon was able to do that. He was down 10 to AB at one point. But then he stormed back, took AB and Aaron Gossage to a playoff, AB being Anthony Barella, took him to a playoff and won in the playoff, taking down the prestigious Memorial. Owen was a completely different story. She shot the hot round every single round in a dominant 10-stroke win. She played excellent. She was constantly in the fairway. She was doing her thing, making putts. And this was kind of a course where people expected a bigger thrower, bigger arm to win. And Owen came out and proved them all wrong by showing that positioning and good putting can win any tournament, which I think is a very kind of cool message to send. So Owen continues her good shooting at, an older age, relative to disc golf, of course. And she's really shown that different styles of golf can still prevail over the kind of trend toward big bombers and big throwers. So I think that was an awesome thing to see. So congrats to Owen on the win. Hopefully she can capture a Pro Tour this year. I'm really rooting for her. She is, I think, one of the highest rated FPO players in the world right now. And so we will see if she can translate that to a Pro Tour win here soon. Another big storyline from that event was looking at the MPO top 10. You saw the young guns showing up. We had some of the names in the top 10: Alden Harris, Gannon Buhr, Isaac Robinson, Anthony Barella, Adam Hammes, Cole Redolin, and Jacob Curtis. Those guys, if you don't know, are all very young, very up-and-coming players, especially I'm going to highlight Gannon, Isaac, and Adam, as those three all have wins under their belt, whether on the Pro Tour, National Tour, or a major. And so it is very impressive that we're seeing this big kind of grouping of young talent showing up at such a historic event. If you don't know, those three guys, three of those guys are sponsored by Prodigy right now. Prodigy went into the season having a very strong core young team. Gannon Buhr obviously is a bit of a question mark and likely won't be with them for much longer. But right now, Prodigy still has a fantastic young, powerful team going on. So they did a great job this weekend. And then a player who I really like is Cole Redolin. He is so smooth. I mean, you think Gannon has effortless power. You need to watch Cole Redolin throw. He looks just as, if not more, effortless than Gannon Buhr. He was struggling on the putting green last year, but he got some coaching from Scott Stokely, switched it up, has a very smooth putt. He just fantastic game. He recently switched to DGA, and it looks like he's feeling comfortable with it. So great job, Cole. And then Jacob Curtis, we saw him at Goat Hill. His nickname is Cupcake. He is a bomber of the disc. He is sponsored by Clash. So he throws Clash plus a couple other discs from other manufacturers. And he is a big bomber. He has a really nice game. The one thing I will note about this event is it was on full display that we need more stricter callings on that was redundant. We need stricter callings on time violations, because Jacob, he, nothing against him personally, but he was taking like upwards of a minute on many, many putts. And it was very, very tough to see him he had this very choppy motion where it wasn't like he was just kind of waiting. He would go up and down and up and down and up and down, and you never really knew when he was going to putt. So it was tough to watch. He clearly has some nerves on the putting green right now, although he actually putted very well. Like, he was a very solid putt. He clearly has some issues getting comfortable. So hopefully he kind of finds that, but it was displaying, and not just for Jacob, for a lot of guys, that we need a little bit better time regulations. The other thing, not just stricter, but we need to adopt a more innovative or updated time policy. So in his situation, when he's lining up, a 15-20 footer, you should not be taking a minute and 15 seconds, right? That should be 30 seconds max, probably less than that. But when you're in the woods and you're trying to figure out gaps and everything, I do think we need an updated time code. I think we need to give those guys more time. Don't feel the pressure of the 30 seconds. I know people don't really call it, especially on shots like that in the woods, but I think an updated time code to reflect that would be a forward step from the PDGA, or if the Pro Tour wanted to implement their own, they seem to have some ability to do something similar to that. So I would love to see something like this, just because the rule right now is a bit archaic and is not being enforced properly. The players have taken the discretion upon themselves, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. But in situations like Jacob's and Nico's and other guys that take a long time, Gannon has hurried it up a little bit. We do need to see more consistent calls, and we do need to see updated regulations for different kinds of shots. I don't think just a blanket statement 30 seconds is what is best for the sport. Especially as we grow, we get more people involved, we need to have a more professional standard. So that is what I will say about time violations. We might see it pop up a little bit more this season, hopefully not, but it definitely needs to be managed. Terry Miller mentioned it as well. The next big news was Dynamic Discs was acquired by disc golf conglomerate House of Discs. If you did not know, House of Discs, they own Latitude 64, Castaplast, some other European-based companies and manufacturers and everything like that. And they are now the owners of Dynamic Discs. Dynamic and Latitude 64 have always had that kind of handshake agreement, as Ultiworld called it, where they help each other with distribution and manufacturing and kind of conquer both the US and the European market. They acquired Westside Discs together, and they are now officially under the same roof with House of Discs. Overall, for Dynamic, I think this is a slam dunk move. You now have the logistical power of a large conglomerate. You now have that kind of resource pool to pull on. I think as a fan of the sport and as a player myself, I don't think it is a good thing. I think it's moving towards a bad thing, because I think one of the cool things is I can carry like 8 different brands in my bag right now, right? Like, I'm carrying Discmania, Discraft, Innova, I'm carrying Lone Star, a bunch of different guys in there, and I don't want to buy from 5 different companies and have them all come out of the same factory. I know there's a little bit of that right now with people making each other's molds, and I think there is some interesting aspects of that. That being said, I don't want that for every brand, right? You don't want to buy Innova and have it come from the same factory as Dynamic, come from the same factory as Discmania, same factory as Discraft, etc. So I think while right now we have it on a small scale, this move toward a growing, bigger scale conglomerate monopolization, I think is a bad thing. So I think we need to be a little bit wary of it and giving power to it. But overall, congrats to Dynamic. They have clearly grown a lot. If you want to go learn more about that, Ultiworld has a good article on it, and their owner or founder, Jeremy Rusko, talks more about it. So you can go check out their resources. But hopefully you got a little bit of a synopsis on it from myself. Alrighty, now what you guys all want to hear about it. We got the Waco Annual Charity Open, the coolest name in disc golf because it's in Waco and it spells Waco Annual Charity Open. It's a nice acronym. starting this Friday, the 10th, March 10th through the 12th. And this has become a little bit of a mainstay on the tour. It will be at Brazos Park East, right on the Brazos River. And FPO and MPO will be playing very similar layouts. So on this course especially, I think it's a good idea. What you have is you have the regular layout. MPO and FPO will both be playing from it with 3 exceptions. 3 tees, so those from the caddy book. 3 tees have been moved for FPO. And I think on this course it makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of holes. Hole 4, for example, is a 440-foot par 4. I think MPO and FPO can both play that. I don't think there's any reason they should be switched. It's a tough hole. It's very tight. And so I think this is a good thing. I feel like FPO gets left behind a little bit on some courses, and they just kind of throw a bad layout at them. And I'm glad to see that we're kind of saying, hey, we have a course where MPO and FPO can both play a good tournament. So very happy to see that. So again, 3 different tees from what it looked like on the caddy book, and 4 strokes difference in par. If you have never seen Waco, it is a very unique mix of open and heavy woods. So the first 3 holes are pretty open. You can throw pretty much high shots, or you can you're playing with a few trees, but it's not heavy woods by any means. And then you get to hole 4 and the gauntlet begins, because hole 4 is a mega narrow, slow ceiling, super short par 4 that gives the field fits. So I pulled up the course stats from last year. Last year, hole 4 played a little bit over par, and at least in the 3rd round, it looks like it probably for the tournament it averaged about par. And so you're thinking 440-foot par 4, that's got to be way under. Well, no, you saw 28% birdies, you saw 16% bogeys, some doubles, some triples, and quite a bit of pars. And that is a pretty good representation of the rest of the course. You have a lot of shorter, if I'm looking at the list, we got a bunch of par 3s. You got 260-foot, 260-foot par 3s, 420-foot par 4, 213-foot par 3, 519-foot par 4, 591-foot par 4, 279-foot par 3. It is a very short course relative to the par it's at, and it does not quite play that way. Now, we have seen an 18 down there in the past. Paul Macbeth, the course was different, slightly different, and the pars were different. So do not expect that. Last year, the winning scores came in at 23 under for the tournament, so averaging about 8 down per round. We will not see that 18 down again. I'll do something crazy if we see that 18 down again this year. But that brings me kind of my next point, and I do think, while it is fun to go to Waco, and I like Brazos East, or the Beast as people call it, I do think the Pro Tour needs to move away from Waco. Now, I think we have some fond memories of this event, and that might just be because it's one of the season openers, but if you look at Waco, take a step back. I want everyone to take a step back. I want you to look objectively at Waco. So it is bad for spectators. Spectators, we can only reasonably have large galleries on 7 of the holes, 8 of the holes maybe. It is not a good course for spectators. The other thing is it does not encourage, so it doesn't encourage circle 2 putting. It doesn't encourage big drives. It really is encompassing the upshot part of the game, which is very important, and I respect people who are super good at that. I think it's a finicky part of the game, and I do like it. But in terms of spectator viewing, it is not the best aspect to watch. And I'm not saying we should go to bomber-only courses, but when you go to a course like this, it's a lot of just kind of upshot-looking shots. The other thing about it is not great for viewing on the Pro Tour net or the Disc Golf Network. So if you look at hole 4, for example, you can see the tee shot and then it disappears behind a corner. You can see, and that's kind of true for a lot of holes. And then with the very open holes, quite a few of them, they have very just unnatural, weird, uncomfortable looking fairways. So hole 2 is a good example. They throw kind of a full power shot, but it's kind of hyzering out. You can't really tell like what's great, and they all kind of look early. It's just kind of weird. And then you have the one hole where you're throwing, I think it's 15 or 14, it might be earlier than that, where you're throwing and there's like these weird electric boxes and like water meter boxes and the railings surrounding them and a road on the left. And it's just, it's fun to go there and it's cool, but it is not, there are so many better events. For instance, the Open at Belton, I like that course better. The Vintage they played 2 years ago. That is a great course. I really liked watching that event. And I don't think Waco is up to that standard. It's not good for spectators. It's not really good to watch on Disc Golf Network. And then my last point is there are a lot of just in-betweener holes. So if you're looking at average par or average score to par, we'll go to round 3 here. There are quite a few holes where it is just like almost everyone or so many people par it. So look at hole 18, for example. Played a stroke or 1.2 strokes over par, 32% pars, 34% bogeys. Not great for spectating. Most people were laying up, and it was 2% fairway hits. Only one person birdied it. It's just a weird hole. And not a great spectator hole. Hole 15, 60% pars, 25% bogeys. Not great. Par 3. Hole 12, 52% pars, 25% bogeys. Like, a lot of these holes are just playing so heavily par. Hole 3, 64% par, 25% birdie, like no bogeys. Like, these aren't score separators. So, you see a hole like at Ledgestone Black, you see a hole where par is really hard and a lot of people are getting high numbers. And you see one of those at hole 18, and that's all right. But at hole 18, a lot of people are just laying up, and it's not a good watch. At Ledgestone Black, you're having to hit tight fairways, everything like that. And I use Ledgestone Black as the example because just because a course is tough or plays holes over par, that doesn't mean it's boring. But in this case, Waco, I don't think it does a good job at forcing scoring separation in an entertaining and thoughtful way. What I think it does is it forces kind of weird layups and just kind of awkward shots. And awkward and hard are different things, and I think sometimes people confuse them. So I just don't see a future for the Waco event, at least at this park. I just don't see it being a mainstay on the tour in the future like it has been. I frankly don't know how it stayed on the tour this long because it is not a great event. We have seen better events, I feel like, get cycled out. The previous 2 I mentioned are Silver Series. Beaver State Fling is a Silver Series now. Like going and playing at De La Viega, I feel like would be better. I know De La Viega is controversial, but there's just better events than this, and I would rather we move some stuff up and throw like another European event on the calendar while we're over there, or something along those lines, because this just isn't it. Throw another event at like Hornet's Nest, in Charlotte. And I just don't see where this event fits in to the calendar. There's a reason they call it Wacky Waco or a bunch of different names for it. And we do get some solid winners out of this event, right? Last year Paul won it. We've had Colton won it in 2020. We have had some weird winners at this event, Nico winning it in 2021. But like, it is a little weird when you look at the top 10. And I don't think that's what people necessarily want to see. So while I have enjoyed watching Paul shoot 18 down there and everything like that, for me, the course just doesn't intrigue me that much. That being said, I still am excited for this weekend because I love the Pro Tour, but I think if we want to grow, we do need to move past this course. So I'm sorry, I don't want to be too negative to start out, but that is just my opinion on Waco and the course in general. I think all Pro Tour events are good events, though. I enjoy watching all of them. I'm going to watch the entire thing. I'm pumped about it. I love Pro Tour weekends. They're very fun. So don't mistake my criticism for like being upset about it or anything like that. Looking at the weather, temperature, it'll be nice. It's going to range from 60 to 78 degrees. Saturday will be the hottest day, and there will be no rain expected. And what people will be happy to hear is wind will stay in the mid to low teens, even dipping down below 10 at some point. And that is what everyone wanted to hear. Last year, we had winds well over 20 miles an hour with some really high gusts. If you will recall, in hole 18, no one was going for it because of that headwind. People felt like they couldn't get there. So we will see less winds. The course is going to play a little bit easier than last year, I believe. Last year, it was 20, I just mentioned it, 23 down that one. This year, I expect somewhere around 27 will win the event. So hopefully we see calm conditions prevail, and I think we will. Looking at the field notes, last week's were very strange, and this week's are still strange. What I thought was going to be a full field. So the problem with looking at the field is I don't have a spreadsheet of here are the top players in the world and here's who's playing Waco, and I can compare them. I just have to go through and kind of eyeball it. I need a better system for that. I need to figure something out. If you have any ideas, hit me up. Let me know. So I was looking at it and I was like, sick, full field. Chris Dickerson's back. Ricky's back. Jeremy Colling's back from injury. Gavin Babcock is back from injury. Full field. And then I looked and I was like, wait, Simon's gone. Okay, well, Simon's gone. But other than that, it's a full field. And I was like, wait, Drew Gibson's gone. And I was like, all right, well, other than those two, it's a full field. And I was like, wait, Anthony Burrell is gone. All right, and so we have three of the farthest throwers skipping this event. Why? I'm not sure. I imagine they have varying reasons, but I am a little bit disappointed. As you heard, I kind of sounded off a little bit on Chris Dickerson about this, but you are a professional athlete. You just had 3 or 4 months off from your career. You got to go do your thing, especially these three. And much of your job, if not all of your job, is paid for. Well, actually, all of your job is possible because there are spectators and there are people who want to watch you play. And when you skip out on events because they don't necessarily suit your play style, I think you are doing a disservice to the fans, because, frankly, we want to see as many full fields, and I think it shows a lack of competitive nature, perhaps, when you're like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore that one. That one doesn't. I'm not great at that kind of wood stuff, and well, you're a professional and you all have the talent to do it. I really do believe that almost everyone on the tour has the ability to win anywhere. So I would like to see, I don't want to see this become a trend of players really picking and choosing their events, especially when we're one event into the year and there were 2 weeks in between them. It's not like, oh, I went back to back to back and I'm just exhausted, right? It's like we had 2 weeks in between the last Pro Tour. It is the first event of the year, and especially Anthony Burrell and Drew Gibson, it's not like it's too big of a commute for them compared to some of the other players. So there's my little spiel. You can make of it what you will. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. On the FPO side, it looked like it was going to be a full FPO field, and then Val dropped it. Looks like her ankle is still flaring up, I imagine. But we will have Kristen and Paige back. So we won't have the reigning winner. We will have Kristen and Paige back. So that is nice to see. But unfortunately, no Valerie Mandujano. We have yet to see her make her season debut, obviously due to the ankle sprain she underwent. So looking at the previous winners, I'm going to start in 2017 and go down. We have Jeremy Colling, Paul McBeth, Colton Montgomery, Nico LaCastro, and then Paul McBeth again. And on the FPO side, we have Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, Kona Panis, now Kona Montgomery, Valerie Mandujano. Oh, and I missed Evelina Salonen there in 2020. 2020, the event was cut short, so some people don't count it. It was a little bit weird, but Colton Montgomery averaged 1060 golf over 2 rounds, so good for him. And Evelina had a pretty dominant win as well, so I am going to count those just because of how solid they were playing. So we will have all of those players there except for Valerie Mandujano. Nico LeCastro, if you don't know, is back from his suspension. He played Vegas. He did pretty solid, got 16th. Look for him to be a threat this weekend. He has his new manufacturer, which is Texas-based. He will have probably more fans than he usually has maybe at this event. So we will see if Nico can come through for his home sponsor in their home state. So looking at the UDisc percentages and stats from last year, we can kind of get an idea of what will the winners in this tournament have to do well. And this one surprised me. So one of the most shocking stats was C2 putting did not matter. Last year, Macbeth and Luke Humphreys both lost strokes to the field in Circle 2 putting. And I think the reason for that is if you are in Circle 2 at this event, you are probably not having a putt. When you get in hole like 4 through 13 or 4 through 12, if you were in the woods, if you were more than 33 feet away, you were probably in some thick bramble. So I don't know if we can expect a lot of people to putt well from C2. That being said, last year Kyle Klein putted over 50% from C2. I imagine that was a lot of either coming up short or finding C2 on the more advantageous holes where C2 might have a more open look. But overall, C2 is not a factor in this event. What is a factor is getting to C1 in regulation. So then, of course, C1 percentage becomes a factor. Last year, Macbeth and Luke Humphreys, the top two, both putted over 90% in Circle 1. They both gained a lot of strokes in C1 in regulation, and they both gained a lot of, and then thus gaining a lot of strokes T2 green. You basically have to have a solidly well-rounded game, aside from that Circle 2 putting, to win Waco. It's not like one stat massively stood out among the others. So we're going to look for people just be in the fairway, in the circle, making their Circle 1 putts. Very simple, easier said than done. Now, UDisc does these nice helpful percentages now, so we can actually look at who they have predicted to win. Topping the list out... Oh, that was last year. You guys don't want last year. Topping the list out, we have Paul Macbeth. They give him an 18% chance to win. And then we have Ricky Wysocki at 15, Gannon Burr at 10, Matty O at 9, and Calvin Heimberg also at 9. I always find it interesting. I am interested. I need to learn how to... I need to read their blog on how that winning percentage works. But having a guy like Matty up there, they consistently have him pretty high. There have been events where he's gone in as the favorite, and I think we all know he can't really finish, or he doesn't really have that killer instinct right now. So it is interesting having him above Calvin Heimberg, above Chris Dickerson, above Eagle McMahon, who have clear finishing, kind of practice. They have that experience. That's what I'm looking for. They have experience finishing out tournaments, but they have Matty O higher. Some of the other names that are notably far down are Isaac Robinson, Joel Freeman, and James Conrad. Those guys have historically had success at this event, and I think could all be factors. Also down there is Nico LeCastro. He's a bit of a toss-up because he is farther along in his career than the other ones I just listed, maybe aside from James. But those three I think can definitely make something happen this weekend, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won. Another guy whose game I also think shapes up really well for this is Mr. Nate Sexton. He has this very controlled forehand. He has a very controlled backhand, and we have seen forehand players do well at this event before. I know Sarah Hokum, I didn't list her in those winners, but she has had success at this event, pushing Paige Pierce to hole 18 a few years back with some kind of weird play, but the forehand absolutely plays. Jeremy Colling showed that. And so I think a guy like Nate Sexton, who is so controlled, can really do well here. But when you kind of get in and you get this far and you're like, that guy can win, that guy can win, that guy can win, I don't know if it shows a lack of understanding on the statistics point of view, but more the fact that we are getting very deep in the MPO field and that really anyone can take it any weekend. And those are just some of the ones that stuck out to me. I'm not saying they should be higher in the win percentage necessarily, but I would not be shocked if they won. On the FPO side, surprise, surprise, Kristen Tatar is put at a 62% chance to win. Now, that sounds ludicrous, but I don't think it's that insane. Kristen Tatar, 100% podium percentage last year. I believe she took second at Waco last year, and she was lights out. And this is the first we're going to see her. She's all rested up. She's had a lot of time to practice. I think we see her come out firing. The person who beat her last year was Val, and Val's not here this year. So overall, I think this event is Kristen's to lose, especially right now. So I imagine we'll see her on feature card, and I'm excited to tune into that because I think the FPO tour is severely not underwhelming, but I think it definitely, after what we saw from Kristen, it feels like we're missing something when she's not there. So excited to have her back. So let's move on to my personal predictions. A couple of them I already mentioned, but I'll just get into them. Number 1, on the MPO side, I have Paul McBeth. Number 2, Isaac Robinson. Number 3, Ricky Wysocki. And then on the FPO side, I have Kristen Tatar, Missy Gannon, and Paige Pierce. Going through and explaining them, Paul McBeth, he won last year. He's won this event twice. He shot 18 under at this event. There's no real reason not to pick him. He's Paul McBeth. Nothing really more to say. He looked solid at Vegas. So excited to see him take down the beast again. Number 2, Isaac Robinson. He is a wizard on the putting green. He had his first really big notable finish on the Pro Tour here last year. He got 5th. And excuse me. He got 5th. And as my friend put it, if there are baskets on the course, Isaac Robinson has a chance. He has a very nice controlled backhand turnover game, which I think is very important at Waco, actually. I think that is an underrated aspect of Waco. And I just don't see him getting in too much trouble at this event. Last but not least, Mr. Ricky Wysocki. Hopefully the wrist is not flaring up too bad. We will see him at his first event of the year. And Ricky is the king of scrambling, as we know. And if you can scramble at Waco, you are gaining strokes on the field. Everyone is going to end up off the fairway at some point. And if you can save that stroke or two here and there, you are going to gain them on the field because not everyone can scramble like Ricky can. So I have Ricky coming in at 3rd. He's also very good in Texas in general. Kristen, already explained. She's had one of the most dominant FPO seasons last year. I expect the same from her again this year, if not better. You saw that winning percentage. I don't need to go more into that. She's fantastic. Number 2, Missy Gannon. She surprised me at Vegas. She was one of the few people who had a chance to track down Katrina Allen in the last round, and I think she has a great game for Waco. Very solid circle 1 putting, very good control. She's not a distance player. She is a control player, and I think when she stays in the fairway, makes her putts, she gives herself a chance really on any course. I think she proved that at Vegas, so looking forward to seeing her take on the beast. Number 3, Paige Pierce, her first event back in the year. Paige Pierce right now is kind of a wild card. She could go out and get 35th, or she could go out and win by 15 strokes. You never really know with Paige, especially, and I'm not talking career-wise, I'm just talking kind of last year. We saw her kind of lose a little bit of focus and competitive edge with Kristen. We'll see if she's regained it. The fact that she missed the first event of the year for a vacation after a 4-month break from disc golf is a little bit of an indicator to me that she has not regained that competitive edge. But that is speculation. Nothing against Paige, but that's just like looking at it from an outside point of view. So we will see if she's regained it. I was hesitant to put her even in the top 3. I feel like I should have put her first or not in the top 3, but after not putting Katrina Allen in the top 3 last week, I felt kind of silly, so I was like, I gotta throw Paige in there. My dark horses are Jeremy Colling. He has won this event twice. He has showed the touch forehand plays here. He is actually on his day, he's a very solid putter, and I think he putts decently into the wind, which there will be a little bit of. And he showed he has what it takes to win this event. Like, I don't need to talk about it. He's proved it. So Jeremy Colling, dark horse for the MPO side. And for the FPO side, It is not Valerie Mandujano. It is Alexis Mandujano, who I expect to really break onto the scene this year. She showed up and I think was one of the most memorable performances at the All-Star event, taking down the putting challenge. She had the highest score of MPO or FPO, and she had a really solid finish at Vegas. So if her game is anything like her sister's, she has a chance this weekend, but very similar to Isaac Robinson. If you putt well and you keep it in the fairway, you are going to put yourself in like the top 15, top 10 at any course. That's how it is. So I have a couple bold predictions to finish us up. And last week I got some feedback and people said, hey, I enjoyed the bold predictions. Just make sure, keep doing what you're doing and keep them like fact and kind of stat based. So that's what I'm going to do. My bold prediction number one, maybe not super bold, but Prodigy is going to dominate the weekend. Last year, Luke Humphries showed up. As I mentioned earlier, they all just showed up really big at the Memorial. Their young team is super talented. Alden Harris is sneaky good. He's up to like 1030 rated. I think they just are in a really good position for this event. A lot of their guys don't throw super far, but have really great short games, and this event shapes up super well for that. Number two plays into that a little bit, and that is that Cale and Bradley Williams finish in the top 10. They have both had success at Waco in the past. We have seen them a little bit on lead cards, feature cards, everything like that. And again, they both have super smooth, nice, touchy games. And I think they both play well at this event. So one of them, the top 10. If both of them get there, that would be awesome. Number three, continuing on the Prodigy train, Luke Humphries will show up again. Last year we saw it and we thought, is this the year of Luke Humphries? Is he turning into the greatest of all time? He wasn't. He missed the Pro Tour finale or Pro Tour Championship. That's okay though. He's a fun guy. He does a great job. Go check out OTB Skins if you haven't on GK Pro. But he had a great event last year at Waco. He had a pretty good event at Vegas, and yeah, I'm excited to see him attack Waco once again because maybe we'll all get that Luke Humphries fever like we did last year. So yeah, let's go. Everyone's rooting for Luke Humphries. I don't know a guy that doesn't like Luke Humphries. Very fun kind of character. So let's see if he can show up again. And my last one is kind of out of left field, but Anniken Christensen Steen. Let me know how badly I pronounced that. I just mispronounced pronounced. That's really funny. Okay. Anniken Christensen Steen will finish in the top 10. Now, she is a player on the FPO side who has been tearing it up in Europe while Kristen, Evelina, and Henna have been away. She's been killing it on the European Pro Tour, Prodigy Disc Pro Tour, and she had a very good finish at Memorial. I think she has a lot of potential. She apparently has not been playing for a rather long time and has just kind of started to get really serious about it. And I think she has some really bright things in her future, being another successful European kind of transplant over to the US. She's doing a half tour this year, so I'm really looking forward to seeing her, and I think she could get top 10 at this event. I don't know a lot about her game. I just know she is a killer over in Norway, and I hope to see that she can bring that over to the US. So that is the end of our Waco show. Let me know what you thought about it. Sorry if it got a little negative in the middle, but that's just my honest thoughts and kind of my analytical take on the event and its future going forward. So check out our platform, spreckensports.com. You can go chat about Waco. We've had a couple people join already. I'll be in there. If you don't know, Sprecken Sports is our home platform. It is where you can go. You can look at our list of events and you can join an event. And then while the event is going on, you can chat in that specific chat room with other people who are watching the same event. I'm really excited to start talking with some people about it. You can post polls, GIFs, videos, photos, everything like that. Super cool. So that is spreckensports.com, SPRECHENSPORTS.com. Sprecken Sports. Link will be down in the description. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be live tweeting a bit during the event, kind of talking about what's happening. So please check us out. I would love to talk with some of you guys during that event. We didn't have anyone come and chat in Vegas, so I'd love to hear your guys' opinions about Waco. And I will see you guys next week for our Waco recap show. Let me know if you guys have a schedule you prefer. I was kind of thinking doing like a Wednesday or Tuesday schedule. I'm still kind of figuring out what would be best and when to get the content out best. I know you guys probably want Waco recap as soon as possible, so probably on Monday. So I will do my best to get that out either Monday or Tuesday. So have a good one, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Sprechen Disc Golf.